to another episode of Metal Thrashing Mad. This is Calvin. I'm Kole, and this is our thrash metal episode. We're going to take you through a brief history and kind of evolution kind of thing of thrash metal. A little bit of essential bands, essential albums that are definitive to the genre and kind of change the genre.
Some basic need to know, need to hear shit.
Exactly. Some characteristics that we think define thrash metal, some other characteristics that don't necessarily define it but are very common in thrash metal, and a little bit of why we like the genre. I'm sure all of you know somewhat the history of thrash metal and like its roots, and we got new wave British heavy metal, and we got punk, hard rock,
Traditional speed metal.
Venom, Judas Priest,
Tank.
Merciful Fate,
Sabbath.
Iron Maiden, Sabbath,
Obviously.
Led Zeppelin. I mean, everyone's inspired by Led Zeppelin.
Thin Lizzy.
Diamond Head, Ted Nugent, Angel Witch, all those new wave British heavy metal bands.
Tigers Pantang.
Blitzkrieg, the Ramones and the Misfits for the punk side of thing. Basically started in 1983 with Kill 'Em All. I mean, they were a band before that, and they had stuff in '82 like No Life to Leather, and Slayer was performing before '83,
That's
but
how
really,
Thrash Variety with demo tapes,
yeah,
and tape trading, and that sort of shit.
but really the definitive year of thrash metal was '83. It started it, but it was Kill 'Em All and Show No Mercy, basically the front runners of the genre. Kill 'Em All is Metallica's, Show No Mercy is Slayer, if you didn't know. And if you don't know that, I don't know why you're watching us. Then '84 picked up a little bit more with Anthrax having a release, Metallica with another one, Slayer with Haunting the Chapel and Live Undead. Sodom and Metal Church also had releases.
Yeah, we're coming up in Germany.
This one.
Sodom and Sign of Evil.
And then '85 is when it blew up. And here's a list of bands that came out with albums in '85. And it kind of stayed with that momentum from '85 to '89 was the big headbang of thrash metal. Just tons of different bands from all over the world. Started out in the Bay Area with like Metallica and Slayer, Megadeth and Exodus.
'86 is basically the
86 is the pinnacle of the genre. And then, yeah, the prime. The big explosion. And it moved all over. By '85 it was in Germany, and there's Russia later on, and there's Canada. Canada was, I mean, there's Razor in '85, I think.
South America, just in general. Brazil.
Yeah, mainly Brazil, but South America all over. Sarcophago, Sepultura. Basically the start of extreme metal. It spawned your
Black and death metal and that sort of shit.
Death was very thrash sounding, but like the band Death, not
At
the
least in the
genre.
beginning.
Yeah. Same with like Bathory.
Started out really thrashy and just kind of edged its way to what we now know as black metal.
Then in the '90s, some of them went mainstream, some of them went groove. Pantera showed up, which was originally a glam band, and then they went to groove metal. And Overkill went to groove metal in the '90s, and
Might say the end of an era.
yeah.
And yeah, after the '90s, new wave of thrash.
Yeah, the new wave of thrash metal, which you got like Hexen,
Municipal Waste, Havoc.
Toxic Holocaust, Evil, Suicidal Angels, Angelus Apatrida, is another good one. quite a few essential bands to the genre, really pioneering ones. The Big Four is the most cited as the most influential. Metallica being the first, Slayer being the first real evil.
We're into the satanic stuff. Just kind of what everybody thinks of everybody that's outside of metal. Like when they're sacrificing babies and shit.
Yeah. And we got Megadeth, and they're unique because they're the more technical of the Big Four. And then we got Anthrax, and they're unique because they were kind of the more fun, more humorous of all of them. The other ones were more kind of serious.
Really moshy, chubby.
Yeah.
More of that stuff.
More fun.
Right. Less
light-hearted kind of stuff. Then you got bands like Exodus, who were right there at the beginning and really packed a punch with their first album, Bonded by Blood.
Absolute classic.
Yeah, classic. And they were big in the underground for a long time in the Bay Area. Yeah, Suicidal Tendencies, which is really the first one to fuse thrash with hardcore punk, kind of, or just regular punk. Their first one was not really thrash at all, but then joined the army, they started getting those thrash influences. Sepultura was the first one in Brazil so that they started the South American thrash metal, and then over in Germany the first one was Destruction.
Came out with
Infernal Overkill was, like we said, 85.
Yeah.
And Sodom was right there with them. They had this in 84, but
Obsessed by Cruelty in 86.
86 was their first actual album.
Yeah, Creator in 86.
Creator in 85 with Endless Pain, right?
But everybody knows them for 86 is Pleasure to Kill.
Yeah, which is like their best in my opinion too.
Definitely Opus.
The old magnum opus.
Magnum Opus, there we go.
There we go. What was that, Latin? I don't know. Here's the freaking language lesson for you guys.
We talked about dictionaries in another video.
Did we really?
Yeah, I think we started talking about dictionaries in my first video.
There you go. Freaking language in this one. Dictionaries in the other one.
The more you know.
Thank you. Then we got some thrash metal essential albums that were really pioneering, domineering, steering, leering. Shut up.
How much more can Kole run?
Not anymore. Kill 'Em All again with the first real thrash album. Killing Is My Business, and
starting the biggest rivalry in extreme metal.
Yeah, Megadeth versus Metallica.
Megadeth.
Join the Army, like we said earlier, was the first one to really fuse the thrash and punk correctly. DRI was in there earlier, and you can hear a little metal in the first Suicidal Tendencies, but really the start of the actual crossover thrash, we think, was Join the Army.
First one was
if you think differently,
straight up.
if you think differently, tell us. We don't care. Bonded by Blood again, that's a classic, so you gotta add that in there.
Obsessed by Cruelty.
Obsessed by Cruelty, first black thrash kind of mix up there. I mean, not necessarily actually black thrash, but is the start of combining the two.
And again, more evil side.
Yeah, yep. Kind of like Show No Mercies, except a little bit more evil.
Yeah.
Rain and Blood, kind of the first influence to death metal.
Yeah.
That and Possessed Seven Churches were really death metal influences.
And I think at that time that probably was possibly the fastest album around.
Yeah, I bet. And you got Master of Puppets, which is what I think is the height of thrash metal, and it really is changed the metal scene, made metal more popular.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Besides the stupid glam metal, which I don't mind, but shh. And then another one that's really a seminal album is Cowboys from Hell, because that started the whole groove movement.
I'm not a Pantera fan, but I even have to admit that album is pretty good.
That one and their power metal album are really good in my opinion, but the other stuff isn't. I don't get the hype from some people, and some people absolutely hate it. So now we're gonna kind of try to give you a definition, but not really like in sentence form, just a few terms that really go along with almost all songs in the genre. Starting off with riff-oriented. Just about every thrash song has got a riff that just hooks you in and pulls you, makes you want to hear some more.
Usually it's got harsher vocals than traditional heavy metal and speed metal. Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. Real fast, real aggressive, raw, intense.
All those riffs are raw, intense, speedy, aggressive, and that's why we love it. Gets the adrenaline pumping.
Yeah.
Adrenaline rushing through my veins, thrashing all around, acting like a maniac. Whiplash. Generally, the lyrics are of death, war, and violence. I mean, that basically sums up almost all of metal. I mean, they're pretty general topics. But then also in thrash, you got the lyrics about politics, you got religion, you got insanity, and you got Satan. But again, that's a lot of metal right there. But
yeah.
I mean, that basically sums up the thrash lyrics. I mean, you can find like Dead Brain Cells has science lyrics. What else has weird lyrics?
I have heard of a Scientology band.
Really?
Yeah, that might fall under religion, I guess.
Yeah, that'd fall under religion.
Weird shit.
I mean,
they've got like cosmological lyrics and that sort of stuff.
Oh.
I don't know how to explain it.
Astronomical kind of.
No, like I don't know how to explain it. Never mind.
Maybe philosophical.
Philosophical. That'd be good.
Yeah, every once in a while you'll run. I love the history lessons, like Metal Church's Rust in Pieces, which is about Titanic. The Last Act of Defiance by Exodus, which is about the New Mexico prison riots. Things like that. I love that stuff that tells a little history lesson or something. Or maybe Metallica has songs about literature based off H.P. Lovecraft, or one's based off Johnny Got His Gun. Yeah, so I mean, you get those oddballs. Or Trapped Under Ice is a really weird one because it's about cryogenically frozen people.
Really?
Yeah, being trapped in a cryogenic chamber, I believe.
I was unaware of that.
There you go. And you got a lot of apocalyptic themes too, don't you? Like Fight Fire with Fire, Set the World Afire.
Set the World Afire.
Fire. Yeah. And some common characteristics that aren't definitive to the genre, but a lot of the bands have them, such as your favorite percussion part is the double bass drums, which is, they got that from Motorhead's Overkill.
Yeah. Perfected by Dave Lombardo.
Won't argue with that. You got the dual guitars, which they got from Priest and Maiden, from bands like that. And dual guitars, let me tell you, pretty good.
I don't know.
I don't know how they did without them for so long.
Exactly.
Gang vocals, which is dominant in Anthrax.
Yeah.
Testament has some good gang vocals too.
I think Anthrax does it best, but yeah.
I like Testament's gang vocals a lot. Who else?
Very good. Exodus had some good ones.
Exodus had some good ones. Exodus had some good ones on their newest album too.
Mm-hmm.
They had some good ones on BTK maybe. I can't remember. There's one where I really liked it.
Yeah.
What else we got here? Oh, another great thing about thrash is how diverse the vocals can be. Which, I mean, there's a lot of diversity in all metal subgenres, but I love how diverse the thrash can be, particularly with we grouped it into 4 categories. We'll explain a little bit. The first one is clean, which is pretty easy to understand. You got people like Anthrax, Sanctuary, Atomica, Then you also have Overkill we put in clean because they're not.
In terms of thrash metal, they're clean.
Yeah.
In terms of metal in general,
not all the time they're clean, but
right.
a lot of the time you could say cleanish.
But when
still
you
with a little
stuff like what we're gonna get into, it's very clean.
Yeah. And then what we call harsh, which is basically the standard style of vocals for thrash. And you got your main bands like Metallica and Megadeth, Slayer, Testament, Atrophy. Check out Atrophy, Socialized Hate. Great album. I think it's 87, but I'm not 100% positive on that. Maybe 88. Who cares? It's a freaking good album. I think they were a Texas band, actually.
Yeah.
No, Arizona. You know what? We don't know a whole lot about Atrophy. We just know that Socialized Hate is a really good album.
Check it out.
And their second one, Violent by Nature, is pretty good too. He coined a term. I don't know if he coined the term, but we call it.
It's the best way to describe it, in our opinion.
Witchy vocals. Yeah. You go ahead and explain what that means.
We were talking about this. I think the best way to embody this, though they're not included in this thrash list, was like Korthon's vocals, and that really evil, nasally, like
almost
higher pitched,
hissy, hissy, but
airy,
evil and
nasally. That's another really good way to explain it. Just the embodiment of evil. I mean, it's just really dark, evil vocals.
Yep. And that's how we explained it by using the term witchy.
Yeah.
Well, he did, and I got it because like a witch, you'd think a witch would sing like that.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It makes sense.
And we put bands like Sodom, Creator, Iron Angel, Hellish Crossfire.
Hellish Crossfire, check that one out. That was 85, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Which is pretty early for, I guess a lot of bands came out with that, but...
Right. It's mostly the German, the Teutonic thrash and the stuff that was more...
evil, and they were all
black.
Leaned to black metal, like Sodom a lot, and Creator quite a bit, and Iron Angel quite a bit.
A lot of those bands that the early black metal in general would point to as influences and that sort of stuff.
We also had Morbid Saint clumped in there.
Yes.
Spectrum of Death, that's a classic. And we thought they sounded like witchy vocals. Last vocal style we have for you is, we describe it as barking. It's not really growling because it's not quite death metal growl. It's not guttural because that's like really growly death metal. So we call it barking, which is a term. I'm not sure if it fits these people, but we just figured it's more of the leans towards death metal. It's kind of the death thrash end of the spectrum, and we've got bands like Solstice. If you don't know Solstice, go check out. Do you know the name?
I can't think of what it's called right now.
Pray. It's called Pray. Pray is the second one.
Pray's the one I like better. The blue cover.
Maybe Pray's the first one. Well, one's called Solstice, isn't it?
Oh shit, that might be right. Hang on, you keep talking.
While he's looking that up, we've also got Possessed in there. Solstice. Go check out Solstice by Solstice. That's a good death thrash album. Ed Repka did the artwork, didn't he? So you know it's good. But Possessed, Solstice, Oblivion. Go check out Oblivion from this day forward. The first that from this day forward is strange, little death thrashy, and then their second one, Nemesis, is very death thrashy. But that first one, it's something different and something worth checking out.
Definitely a hidden gem.
Yeah.
Diamond in the rough, you might say.
I like that term. Then the last one we have is a band he likes, but I'm not super into.
Sex Trash.
Sex Trash.
Check out Sexual Carnage. That's all you have to do. Just go on YouTube, look up Sex Trash, Sexual Carnage, and you'll thank me later.
They sound alright, I get turned off by the album cover because it's so cheesy and nasty, and it's just like a little too far.
Yeah.
But check them out anyway, just to see.
They're great.
We're going to discuss a little bit about the different fusions of thrash metal. And the biggest one's probably crossover thrash, which you say the most known of all of them is crossover thrash. You got Suicidal Tendencies, DRI, Corrosion of Conformity. Everyone loves crossover thrash.
Yeah.
We got death thrash, which we just mentioned a little bit of. This is another reason I love the genre, is because it can fuse so well with all the other things and still sound good.
Yeah.
Death thrash, we got black thrash, we got prog thrash, which is kind of Watchtower, and Voivod. It's like a strange prog thrash kind of thing going on. Haven't yet gotten to Voivod. Almost did a little bit, then I kind of lost it again. Gotta check them out more. And we found one band that's called Doom Thrash. And I think we mentioned that in one of our other videos, and then I said Dream Death is Doom Thrash. They've got the tone of Doom, and some of their songs are Doom.
Yeah, they've got like a real fuzzed out like Sabbath guitar tone.
And then they play thrash metal with that, but then sometimes they also just play Doom. So I'd say that's Doom Thrash. Then there's also, which isn't really a fusion, but there's Technical Thrash, which is, they just have different time signatures sometimes, or sometimes it's just really intense playing, like Rust in Peace or Injustice for All. It's just a well-rounded genre, I'd say. Most of my favorite bands are thrash bands. Most of my favorite albums are thrash albums. There's so many different unique bands in there.
And for me, Cole doesn't listen as much, but you like the more extreme like black and death metal, and I would never have touched those genres without thrash.
Yeah, it's kind of the gateway to the extreme, but for me it doesn't get much better than thrash.
Right.
Or any better than thrash, I guess. But it just fuses so well with like almost all other metal genres. Like speed metal is basically thrash and traditional heavy metal, except not as thrash. It is basically the bridge. Then you can have thrash and power mix well, like Metal Church, most underrated band of all time. Black and thrash mix fine, great. Death and thrash mix great. Progressive metal. They
spawned off, you know.
Yeah, I mean they spawned from thrash.
It's perfect.
Black metal can't mix with power metal. Really, I mean
that we found yet.
Yeah, not that we found. And really, I mean, there's numerous like Agent Steel, Vicious Rumors. Those are all, and Metal Church, power and thrash mixed perfectly.
Exactly.
And I mean, there's not tons of black power metal bands out there, or death power metal bands out there.
Right.
It just fuses so well with all the other genres, and even a doom death or a doom thrash. It's like, who would have thought the slow one and the fast one could mix well, and it does, and it's Dream Death.
It's amazing.
They're coming out with a new album, March 4th, I believe, Dissemination.
What was the track we liked a lot?
Dissemination. The title track is very good, and then they also have The Cold Hard Light, I believe, out. So another band to check out is Dream Death. Check out the new album, check out their old album.
We'd recommend Dissemination probably more.
Yeah. I haven't really listened to the old album more than 2 or 3 times, so I wouldn't.
I think I listened to it about 5 or 6.
But yeah, but that new track is really good.
Very good.
But it's just got that, it's perfect to fuse with all of them, and it's perfect by itself. And it just doesn't get old for me. There's so many things you can do. There's so many different lyrical themes you can sing about. I mean, freaking Watchtower has a new EP coming out called Mathematics something. I mean, they talk about, or they sing about math concepts.
Really?
That's weird.
That's
But it
weird.
works. DBC sings about, DBC's Dead Brain Cells, they sing about science. Oblivion has philosophical themes in some of their songs. Why do you like thrash?
Because it's fucking awesome.
I mean,
it's just so intense, and you can get so many feelings from thrash. They have your just fucking power and your aggression. Like, you can't tell me that listening to, I can't think of one right now. You can't tell me that listening to Good Morning by Megadeth doesn't like get you pumped, and then you can't tell me that fucking Call of Cthulhu isn't atmospheric and full of emotion.
but the thing that should not be, which maybe technically isn't thrash, but it is on a thrash album, it's just creepy.
Just really eerie, evil.
And then Set the World Afire, I mean, it makes
That's
you feel like
another
it's
just-
just end of the world. And then there's
Or pissed.
Yeah, and then there's the Toxic Waltz, which just makes you want to mosh.
Exactly. That and can't think of a specific one, just Anthrax in general.
Humor,
Yeah.
or in like who we're listening to right now, Coven, Iron Dick, or McDonald Land Massacre, or Blood Cum, Death by a Clothes Hanger.
Talking
Which
about abortions, I guess.
It is some weird thrash, but
Guess
it's
I don't
still
know how.
it's humorous.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're into that dark humor, it's funny. But it's just it's a well-rounded genre.
Yeah.
You love it, and it really got me into a super duper love for music.
Yeah.
I already liked music, then I found thrash metal, and now I fucking love music.
Yeah.